My name is Bradley Chance Hayes. I'm a professional contemporary Western artist. I started my college education at Panhandle State University up in the panhandle of Oklahoma in no man's land, and I went to school there for 2.5 years, and I started off studying fine arts. It's kind of what I wanted to do from the time I was a kid. I knew that that's what that's all I wanted to do, was to do my artwork and make a living as an artist. And so just my whole life has been spent traveling, doing internships, painting, working, apprenticing under people. I left Panhandle State after 2.5 years, and I went on to Oklahoma State University, where I studied watercolor painting and oil painting, and I pursued a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, which was a lot of work. You know, we had to take foreign languages and do a lot of other things and take other courses that I didn't really want to do, but to get a BFA degree I did it, you know, and I studied sculpture, I studied 3D, ceramics, glass art, all the above, which made me a better painter and a draftsman as well, to be able to sketch out my sculptures, to sketch up everything. I mean, I had a professor who used to tell me all the time that you draw like you paint like you draw, and you sculpt like you paint, and you sculpt like you draw. And what he was always saying is if you looked at your sketches, and you looked at this, and you looked at your welding and your sculptures and everything, all of it played a lot, you know, together. I mean, you looked at all of it, it all flows together with your style. I went on after graduating from Oklahoma State University, and I went to West Texas A&M University, where I got my Master of Fine Arts degree, and again learned just a whole lot more about academics, just in general, the fight to get an MFA degree, to be a part of having a committee working, everybody getting along, trying to do a thesis. You know, just that whole process was quite a challenge in my life, to write about your art, not only to make art, but to put it all together, to write about what you're doing, to put together a show of 20 pieces of art, to write a 100-page thesis about what you're trying to do, comparing your art to other artists, people that influenced you in your life. People, you know, all this played a huge role. You know, that was a unique part of my life. And I worked on a ranch. I trained horses. I built fence. I worked really hard at that time in my life. And then I was also already kind of starting my career as a professional artist, kind of on the side, as you will, selling paintings in galleries up around Taos, New Mexico, and just in Amarillo, Texas, and just wherever I could get my art in. I was working, going to some festivals, getting art out there as much as I could, putting it on social media, starting up a website, all these things. The key, though, was after graduating, you know, as being an artist, I mean, education in the arts is important, just so you can kind of point what it is that you want to be doing, you know, I mean, do you want to be a sculptor? Do you want to do bronze? Do you want to be blowing glass? Do you want to be making horsehair pottery? Do you want to be doing raku pottery? Do you want to be selling pastels on sandpaper? Do you want to do watercolor on 300-pound arches paper? Do you want to do graphite? Do you want to do oil on linen? Like all these things, you have to start to kind of find what it is you want to put your name on, because that's building your identity is the most important part about becoming a professional artist. And a lot of people aren't willing to create that identity, and what that means is they're not willing to take that risk, as in fill up your car. And I mean not fill up your car with gas, but that's part of the risk, is filling your car up, but putting all your pieces in the back seat and driving 12 hours in a different direction to an art festival to set up your art alone, or to a gallery just to talk to them to see if they'll even take your art or not. And you have to be able to be okay with people saying no. And once you learn that it's okay for people to tell you no and to not be accepted, like that's when you're on the right track. And you're going to get used to that, but that's just part of success is you have to learn how to lose before you can learn how to win. And not only, I mean, that's just the key in life. I mean, you're going to fall, but your education is your base, and then from then on out is your independence and your identity to create something. And your job as an artist is to not worry about, what other people think. Me, even though like I have an identity as a contemporary Western artist, I've been denied acceptance into art shows because I'm too contemporary to be in a traditional Western art show. So, and me, not only am I an artist, but I'm also a professional cowboy too, and I rope in the rodeos, and I used to ride bulls some as a kid growing up. And so like I have an identity with a culture already, but I spawned out of that identity and created more of a contemporary style of art, which was accepted to some, but wasn't accepted to others. The traditionalists looked at me and said, oh gosh, like this guy's trying to, create this like new avant-garde Western art and put us on the back shelves. Well, that's not true. I mean, it's the 21st century, and if you look at like some of these museums, I mean, the kids aren't going through the museums anymore. They're not buying a ticket. People that are under the age of 40 years old have lost interest in somewhat in the Western art world because it's been the same. And to evolve Western art, to get a younger crowd to collect art, to look at it, in my mind I was like it had to evolve somewhat, but didn't need to be completely disattached to where it was completely abstract, but it needed to be somewhere in the middle. And people judged me on that and the fact that I couldn't get into some shows because I was too contemporary. But I didn't quit, and I'm not ever going to quit. I feel like in a lot of ways, I'm 30 years old, and I've been kind of evolving this style somewhat for the last 10 years. So there's going to be some artists that were already on that edge of contemporary art and what they thought was contemporary art. But the difference is I went and got an MFA degree and did a thesis and did tons of research on traditionalists and complete abstract artists and wrote about them and studied those people and met some of them in person and tried to figure out, the method to create, all that together. By writing and doing research and also painting and sketching and doing sculptures and like I was willing to do the work, and here I am like I'm doing this video for you guys in Neosho County Community College right now, and it's late, but like I've been setting up another studio for me to be doing work for an art show that I have coming up in Vegas. I have to have 30 pieces of art for that show. I'm driving up there to the deal tomorrow to set up some art in Kansas. I just flew in from Canada two days ago from an art show up there and a rodeo as well. So it's like, you know, I'm tired, but like that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? And that's like being an artist and doing it full time. You have to work at it like a full-time job. That means waking up early and going to bed late and getting on the phone and calling galleries and calling different events and trying to get your art in. And at the same time, there's going to be festivals and art contests and things nationally and internationally. And I'm trying to get into those as well as keep up with a list of solo exhibitions that I already have to do. And there's always more to do. And if people say, well, I just don't have the money, and I just don't have the car, I don't have this, don't have that. It's like, man, you know, find a way. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have the money to buy the supplies, you know what I mean, work at the store that sells the supplies. You know what I mean? Whatever it takes. Like I had jobs, odd jobs all through college too, but I knew that inevitably, like, I wasn't going to do anything else forever but paint. And you know, I also trained some horses on the side, but still, when I said on the side, I meant that, and I'm an artist full time, and like that's what I pay my bills with. That's what I live off of, and that's what I'm. But I had it in my mind that was just how it was going to be. And I think the key is, and out of this video, you know, for you guys there at the college, what I want you guys to really to understand is that you have to make it a goal and to create yourself an identity. And use the professors around you as tools. Ask them questions. That's what they're there for. You know what I mean? And if they don't know the answer, they can call me or they can call other people out there, and you know, and you can get the answer yourself half the time. Just do the research. You have the internet. You have, you know, all these things that right at your fingertips nowadays, you know, but don't be scared of a couple things, and that is working hard and putting in long hours, education, and asking questions, and then creating yourself an identity. Find out really who you are. Write down what you're feeling. Write down what you're thinking. Research artists that you enjoy to look at their aesthetics and look at their work. Understand their aesthetics. Understand their ideology. Understand what their background was. Read about their life. Understand what it was that they're trying to do and what kind of a message, whether it's political or spiritual or any of these things, their ideology. Find out what it is that make that artist turn, and find that identity in yourselves. Being as that you guys are at a community college right now, you're at a really young stage in your life as far as art and what you know about art. Ask as many questions as you can, and the people that want to do it, that want to make a living at it, they're going to stand out. And I mean not necessarily their grades, but their work ethic. Just the time that they spend in the studio. These are the people that stand out. You look at the NFL players. You look at the rodeo athletes in the PRCA. You look at the NHL. You look at any professional athletes, the racehorses, the time that they spend, you know, it dictates their success. And yes, talent and the formula all come into play. You have to have some talent, but you have to have a lot of work ethic to go with it. And not only that, you have to have identity, and you have to have education in some form. Some of you might drop out of college, and they still want to go on to be an artist, apprentice under an artist. You don't have to be in college to become a professional artist, but it can jumpstart your knowledge on art. You know, it can help. Those are all just things like that I've learned that you guys might not have to go through some of the things. You know, like I've apprenticed under other artists in my spare time, going up to Santa Fe, asking artists questions, going into studios, you know, asking them things, you know, and like just sitting down with them. You know what I mean? If they'll give you the time, that's another thing that I learned is, you know, and even me, I'm a really unique person when it comes to working in the studio and stuff. I don't want a lot of people around me. I like my privacy because I spend long hours in there and I get a lot done when I'm there. And when I'm not in there, I'm out doing things to make the living, like selling the paintings, talking to people that walk into the gallery, talking to gallery managers, you know, just answering messages online, reading my emails, answering my phone, you know. So when I'm in the studio, like it's like that's the time to work, you know, and that's my sanctuary time, and that's where I like to get all those ideas out. I really encourage people like me. I have my horses as my outlet, and I encourage people, whether it's snowboarding, you know, skateboarding, mountain biking, you know, hanging out with friends, playing golf, whatever it might be, but to get you an activity away from your art. Because if you're doing art the way that you should be spending long hours doing that, sacrificing for the art. You know, you need to take time away from it. And I think that's just about as important as any of it. I think that spending time away from it and doing fun things, whether it's hiking or whatever, it's just as important as making the art, because you'll get more ideas when you... And a lot of times, like, I'll have art that I can't figure out what to do, or I get stumped or whatever. Man, that's the time that those activities come into play. Get away from it. Go do something else. I mean, go for a hike. Go play fetch with the frisbee with your dog. You know what I mean? All these things. It's all... But when it comes down to making a living as an artist, you have got to make sacrifices. You know what I mean? And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. You know? I've even in my love life, I've had to make sacrifices to where, you know, people don't really understand me. The person that I'm dating doesn't understand me because I'm in the studio at long hours, and then when I get done with that, I want to go exercise the horses or go lift weights or something, or just get away from it, you know, and they're not in any one of them ingredients right there. But it's not that I didn't love them or I didn't like them, it's just that, like, I'm working on my stuff. And they don't understand why you don't pick up the phone, or why you don't call back, or answer the text message, or the Facebook message, or, you know, or the LinkedIn message, or whatever messages it might be. But that's the last thing on my mind. You know what I mean? That's the last thing on my mind when I'm trying to work on something, and I'm in the zone and I'm passionate about it. I could care less what the rest of the world, it could be burning down to the ground for all I care at that time, you know. But I'm focused on what I'm doing, and that's my job. But it's the sacrifices that you make, you know, to be doing that. So, I mean, that's where I'm at in my life right now, is just trying to always have a good place for my dogs and horses to be, that's safe, that's close by my studio, to where I can go work on my art. And then whenever I reach a stump and I can, you know, what I call painter's block or just whatever, you know, you got to get away from it. You know, you got to get away. And then when you get back in there, then you're just like, man, I'm like so excited to be back in the studio working, you know. And whether it's just 12 hours or an hour or whatever time you get away from it, but you just are refreshed, you know what I mean, and you're excited. And sometimes I even take a week or two and I don't paint or draw, you know, and I just work with my horses, play frisbee with my dogs, and spend time with them, and you know, and just enjoy the wildlife and the outdoors. But I keep a sketch pad handy, and I write down ideas. I write down color theory. I write down the things that are coming to my mind. Anatomically, I sketch out things just quickly, thumbnail sketches, ideas, surroundings, mediums that I want to work with, you know. I might be working on 3 or 4 oil paintings, and I duck away from that and I go to working on watercolors just to get away, to change up the mediums to keep it fresh. You know, what's good for one region and one demographic might not be good for the other. I've also learned, being an artist and a professional artist out here on the streets, like out here making a living, like you learn like economically the highs and lows with the economics of each city and each place where you're showing. There's snowbirds, people migrating to one town in the winter to Arizona where the galleries are hot at the time. Might be Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, and Calgary in the summers when people are up north, you know. A barrel of oil goes under $50 and no one's buying art in the Midwest because our economy is based off of that. So I go to Saratoga, New York, and I'm up there in more of an industrial economy where it's commercial and industrial, where their money comes in a different way, you know what I mean? And I'm there making art live. You know, there's those little things like that that's part of the business of art. And a lot of times, like professors at the university and at the colleges, that's where they didn't really help me with that part of it. Like, I kind of learned that on my own, being out there showing in galleries in different regions. Being as I would be in a gallery, or I'd be in an area where it'd be hot, people would be wanting to buy art for a month in that area, and then all of a sudden, boom, like no one's calling, no one wants anything, and then there's no people. And you're like, why is there no people? And you're like, well, I guess everybody owns second homes here in Aspen, Colorado, you know, and it's like, oh wow, who would have guessed? They all went back to Texas, or went back to Oklahoma, or went back to wherever they're from, and they took their money with them. Well, that's just only natural. I mean, and you have to learn, you know, to find a place that's, you know, affordable, that you can afford to live and make art, but get you a bumper pull trailer and, you know, roll on and be able to move around. You know, and I hope that, and I wish you guys the best. I wish I could be there tomorrow, but like I just got in from Quebec City, Quebec, from up there in Canada. I was up there for a rodeo and an art. I displayed some artwork up there too, and like I'm framing art all day today and in the morning, and then I'll be up there to Chanute tomorrow afternoon sometime. I've got a little reception. I rope at the rodeo on Saturday, and then I'll be moving all my stuff back down here. And I've got an art show in Oklahoma City October the 4th, and then in Vegas in December. So, you know, it's just, you know, life happens. And, you know, so, anyway, I wish you guys the best, and that's it.